Alright folks, how's it going? It's me, Leo, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about playing Goldeneye in cinemascope. Now 16:9 aspect ratios modes in video games were pretty rare thing in the 5th generation of consoles, and even in the subsequent 6th generation of consoles, which would be like, the PS2, GameCube, Xbox, Dreamcast, yada yada yada. Although Goldeneye, you can actually go further and make kind of cinemascope aspect ratios. Now these are real 16:9 and wider aspect ratios. It's not just doing something which was pretty common in early console widescreen gaming, was just to chop the tops and bottom of the picture off to simulate widescreen. So I'm going to demonstrate this by loading up the dam level in Goldeneye and using the start of the level. Just set the viewport, in a position where I'll point out certain elements which are there and not there, and then gradually widen the aspect ratio to prove that it's real widescreen and there's no cropping involved at all. So without further ado, let's fire up the N64. Okay, now to start off with, I've got the game in 4:3 mode and full screen. Now the points of reference I'm going to draw your attention to: the rocky outcrop, you can see the top of it and the sky. To the bottom left in that curb, you can't see much of it. In fact, you can just about make up a full black stripe, and Bond's hand and the gun are fully visible. And to the right hand side of the screen, you can see that other kind of concrete thing, and we're just about the edge of it. Oh, and before I forget, the left hand side, the guard that's standing there is just outside the frame. So what I'm going to do is switch to anamorphic 16:9. Now the picture's squashed, so I can unsqueeze it with my frame meister by pressing a button. Now first thing I'd like to point out, of course you can already see, is that guard is now fully visible, and we can see the curb. In fact, we can make out 3 black stripes there. And you can now see past the edge of the concrete block at the right hand side of the screen, and even a wee bit of the curb there. And at the top, we can see the top of the rocky outcrop. The placement has not changed, so there's no cropping happening. This is proper anamorphic 16:9. Of course, Bond's hand is unobscured. And the ammo counter, there's now space to the right of the ammo counter. So now, I'm going to kick it up a notch. Switch to, press Z. Wide. Now this display is, we're now at approximately, I think, a 2:1 aspect ratio, which is about equivalent to 18:9. That's a kind of common aspect ratio in high-end smartphones now. Now we can see even more of the curb to the bottom left. In fact, we can now make out 1, 2, 3, 4 black stripes. We can now see more of the guard tower. The rocky outcrop, top of the screen, none of that is chopped off. We can still see the same amount of it as before. And we can see even more of the curb to the right hand side of the screen, and there's even a bigger gap between Bond's hand, the ammo counter, and the right hand side of the screen. Now we can go even wider. Let's put it up to the max. Cinema mode. Whoa. Now this, I believe, is about roughly equivalent to the 2.76:1 aspect ratio, which was notably used in the movie Ben-Hur. I think it was back in the 50s or 60s. This is a crazy wide aspect ratio. Again, no cropping, because if we look at the top of the screen, you can still see the top of that rocky outcrop. None of Bond's hand or the weapon are cut out. We can see even more of the rocky wall to the left, and a tiny bit more of the curb. and we can see way more of the curb in the right hand side of the screen. So there you have it, demonstrating the widest possible aspect ratio in Goldeneye N64, a game released, let's not forget, in 1997, when games just tended not to have even 16:9. Most of the 16:9 games from around that time all happened to be developed by Rare, which would include this game. So there you have it. Now you're probably wondering why I bothered uploading this video in a really wide aspect ratio if I'm not even going to fill the full picture. Well, that's because I was going to round off this video by doing a playthrough of a whole level in Goldeneye in the aspect ratio, the really wide one. My level of choice is going to be Facility, double agent modes, just because Facility is one of my favourite levels in the whole game. Unfortunately, unless you've got like a 32:9 aspect ratio monitor, you're still going to have black bars at the top and bottom of the picture. And even if you have a 32:9 monitor, the picture won't actually fill the whole screen still. You still have pillar boxes, but it'll make the most of your monitor's real estate. So enjoy. Here's a Goldeneye. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all later.